Pleasure, it's me all at last, and welcome back once again to HJN Season 5. So we're back at it again, with more subjects in mind. This, of course, is going to be more or less focused on the more normal thing regarding HJN. There's not going to be very much that I plan on doing in terms of other series in mind, sub-series of any sorts. But down the line, I'm sure I'll have something planned out. It could be a sequel to Flying with the Foam, maybe? After all, there's been a lot of new Nerf blasters I got a hold of, or something else entirely. But until that happens, 2688 is our next number, and that's a lot of episodes right off the bat. But intersections are what I currently have in mind for the subject itself. So, let's just do it. Intersections are a known piece of the road, though they can also refer to other things just as well. Either way though, intersections are typically an X or plus shape, sometimes appearing differently in different ways, sometimes shaped differently, even if it's more odd compared to others, and sometimes they don't even need to be a plus or X at all. Sometimes they could be a T or triangle based intersection, or even one of those roundabouts. And while that's not technically regarded as an intersection, as there's a large center of land in the center, and more importantly, nobody's directly passing through from each other, but rather going in a circle, I feel like that roundabouts could be their own HJN subject at some point. We'll just have to wait and see how I have it all planned out. And anyways, though, intersections, as you probably know, were indeed a common factor on the road. They were a common piece in which that various roads would come together, and by this point, there's millions of them around the states and around the world. And while a good majority of intersections have since been dug up and replaced with roundabouts in order to attempt to make road travel a lot easier, it sometimes doesn't seem to be the case. And we know that there's been a good amount of roads that have since been converted to roundabouts, mainly of which that are happening out in various spots that tend to get a lot of traffic. I could talk about a very specific road compared to a very specific highway where they come together at some point to the west from my home. But I feel like that itself would be something that I'd have to explain very much of. And I don't feel like I don't really have the time for that, so we'll just stick with it as it is. But as I've said though, the usage of roundabouts happening more often nowadays, considering the fact that intersections have a really high risk of certain collisions or impacts, they've been known to happen a lot of times on intersections. And I could tell you a few incidences this year that I myself have witnessed, like a Budweiser truck smashing into someone's Honda and then just plowing it through the entire intersection just because there was a bit of ice on the road. It just couldn't stop. But I guess that's the big problem here. When some people try to cut through an intersection on a red light, of course a truck, for instance, is not going to stop as easily. And even worse, when there's ice and when you're technically cutting them off milliseconds before impact, it's inevitable that the damage is going to be bad. And the death toll is likely going to happen, especially with such conditions like what I've just mentioned. And we know that snow and ice have made things way more challenging road-wise, but we don't need to indulge on everything or engorge on anything either. All we need to do is just simply put, accept responsibility for such actions, if we made any, of course, and move on. Simple as that. No need to play the victim, no need to blame anyone else, no need to try and defend your own precious consciousness. Just be you. That's all you can do here in 25. Pride Month was just a few weeks ago, in fact. And even though it's not June anymore, who needs Pride Month when you can have it all year round? But in the end, intersections still have played up to be a pretty risky zone for road travel, considering how easy they can be to bypass through red lights and whatnot. There's hardly any explicit warning procedures or even straight up enforcement procedures. We know that some intersections are equipped with those cameras or photography flashers that'll snap a picture of people running through a red light or going at such a high speed. It's typical in some areas that I've been to, like Carolina. I've seen a lot of those things flashing all over the place. And it just goes to show a lot of people want to violate the very existence of these lights. Either they're colorblind or they're just dumb. I'll let you decide which one it is. But for me though, I'm just following the law. I'm just surrendering, kissing boots. That's where I belong in life. Nowhere else. Other than that though, I don't really have much more to say about intersections as a whole, because I feel like it's just going to be all negative going forward. So it's best to stop somewhere. Better late than never, right? But I'll be back with more subjects, probably a few more in correlation to the likes of paid promotion. I know that there's a few here that I'll certainly try out. But if you want to see anything like that, then make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side.